I want to look at how to make use of class-based components instead of using functional components. To use a class-based component, you say class, the name of your class. I want to call this one app. Whatever class you are going to create must be an extension of React components. Inside this React, there is something called, there is a class inside it called components. You know, you start the name of a class with uppercase, Abi now.
Yes.
So inside this React that you imported, you now say dot components. Do you understand? So our class, this class app now will be an extension of this component, of this React dot component. And you can shorten it by importing component directly. You know, component is inside React. So you can say component. So in that case, you can use the component, whichever one you are more comfortable with. So yeah, I'm importing the component directly from this folder. Then we are now saying let our class be an extension of components.
Yes.
Okay. So next is this. After creating a component, let's create methods inside this. So we can say there is an inbuilt method that you need to use called render. This method, whatever is inside this method, will be the one to be displayed on the screen.
Instead of return.
Yes, whatever this render, whatever it returns, is you need to make use of it. Whatever this method called render returns will be the one to be displayed on the screen. It must be called render. You can't call it just any other name. So if this render, whatever it returns now, will now be the one to be displayed on. So we can make use of GSX inside this place now. We can say hello world, I am Taye Abidaku. So when we get to the browser now, we're going to see this hello world, I am Taye Abidaku on the screen. If I call this render another name, let's just remove the app so that it becomes something else. On get to the browser, shall we put display? Put in while render is looking for render. Because the inbuilt, remember, your class is not just a class, your class is an extension of these components. And a lot of things have been done inside these components. These components that you are extending expect that you must have a method inside this place called render. And that method now will now be the one, whatever that method returns, will be the one to be displayed right on the screen.
Yes.
Okay. Next, you can have something we call states. This state is the one that does the work of your use states. So this state is an object. Why is it? It's an object. So you can now store your properties inside this. Now, unlike in functional components, when you can have a lot of use states inside the component, you know you can have multiple use states, Abi.
Yes.
In class-based components, all the states inside this component must be properties of this single state. All your states will be inside these states. So let's say I have a state called num, and the value is 3. I have another state called name, and the value is Taye. I can have another state maybe called student, and it can be an array of objects. Hope you understand how that one works now.
Yes.
So all your states will be inside this state. To display it on the screen, I want to say my name is Taye and I am 3 years old. So let's do that together. I can now say my name is. So to display this Taye, you bring in your curly braces. You know, now you can write JavaScript code there, have you now?
Yes.
So you say this dot states dot name. Sure, I get it, Ben.
Yes.
This dot states dot name. I am this dot states dot num yes old. Oh, so this is how this works. This is how to make use of it. So my name is this dot state dot name. I am this dot state dot num yes old. This becomes my name is Taye. I am 3 years old. But maybe you don't want to keep repeating this dot states, this dot states. No, instead of writing it again, we can destructure it here. We can say let name num let it be equals to this dot state. Look at where I'm destructuring this inside this render, but before this return. This render is just your simple JavaScript method. Do we get it? It's just like basic JavaScript method. So inside this method, because inside this return expects JSX. This whatever you return inside your render must be JSX like this. But inside this, before writing that return, inside you can write all JavaScript code. So what we are doing is we are creating local variable inside this render function. And since this return itself is inside this render function, we can make use of the local variables here. Okay. So instead of repeating this dot state, so we are destructuring name and num from states. So they now become local variable to this render method. Inside this render method now, we can now call on
only inside the render.
Yes, only inside the render, not outside it. Check out this one.
Yes.
So next is this. We want to add
Yes.
a button to change, maybe to add one value to the num. So we are going to say, let's have a button. I will say on click. And when we click on this, we are going to call on the noise in one background noise. Okay. So when we click on this, we want to call on a method. Let me say add. Or let's first. What should we do? Let's change this name from Tayo to Kenny. Let's start from there. Change name. So we want to create a method that when we click on this button, that method will be called upon. Then it will change the value of name to Kenny. So I can call that undo name. Now, this method, you can use ES5 method, you can use ES6 method, but they work in different ways. Let's first make use of ES6 method. When we are done, we now make use of ES5 method. Then we look at the difference between the two. So this is ES6 method, I've been now.
Yes.
So
there is no const in front of this.
No, you are inside a class now.
Okay.
This method is like a property, like a method, just like this render also. Just that we want it to be ES. We could have written it like this, just like this render method like this. But the problem is that we have a little problem with this inside this undo name. And my problem there will be this shema. So that's why we are making use of ES6 method. Like I said, we're going to look at how to use ES5 and how to use ES6 inside it. So I get it.
Yes.
Okay. So when we click on this button, we want to call on this undo name. And we say undo name. This dot. So don't forget to put your this because you are referring to this particular one. This dot undo name. We can now say, you don't just come here and say this dot state dot name equals to Kenny. No. Whenever you want to change anything in the states, you call on something we call set states. Set states is an inbuilt method inside components. Remember, our app is an extension of components, Abin now.
Yes.
And in JavaScript, when a class extends another class, it's going to inherit properties and methods inside that class. So the set state we're about to call on now is coming from this component. So we're going to say this dot set states. So what state do you want to set? Unlike in our functional components, whereby whatever you put here becomes the new value of states, Abi, in functional based
Yes.
component. In class based, it doesn't work like that. In class based components, you are going to supply an object here, fine. If I say name is Kenny, only that name will be Kenny. Every other thing inside that state, inside the initial state, will still remain what they are. Do you get it?
Yes.
So only the name will change. Nothing will happen to this num. Unlike functional based components, when if you should cite this inside functional based components, then it means this becomes the new value of your states. But in class based components, it's not like that. The way it works here is that whatever property you supplied now, we now go and replace that same property inside your state, but every other thing will remain the same. If you want to do this same thing in functional based component, you need to first spread this dot states abi now. You will now set a new property. Try and get there. We are spread one to one state so that we are not going to lose it. This num will still be part of it. If this was to be blast.
Okay. So okay. In functional based components, can only replace it to add it to the Abi.
No, functional based Omar replace the pattern in functional based component. If you try this in functional based component, nǹkan tá à ń ṣe ní fún ilé ìtàtí ṣe tẹ́lẹ̀. Nǹkan tó bá wà bí becomes the new value of your state. A máa kọ́ ní láti spread ẹ̀ báyìí. A máa kọ́ spread ẹ̀. Oh, sorry, what am I doing? A máa kọ́ spread àwọn nǹkan tó wà ń bẹ̀ nù so that kò ní lose norm yìí. Ṣé you get?
Yes. Yes.
So àwa lè add, but in class-based components, you don't need that. So whatever property lè fi sí, ó máa lọ replace property yẹn, but every other thing will still remain constant. Do you get it?
Yes.
Okay. So again, don't trigger it like this. You don't. So if it's not a parameterized function, you don't. You know when you trigger it, it's going to call it immediately the page loads, and that's not what you want. You want to wait till the user clicks on this button. So let's now go to the browser and see the results. So I will click on this button and the value of the name will change to Kenny. You see the name has changed to Kenny. And nothing happened to this tree. This tree did not change. That it means that this tree is still inside the state. Because if tree should leave the state, then you won't be able to see the tree again. So that tree did not change. Shall I follow?
Yes.
Okay. Let's add one to the value of our states, to the value of this num. I will say increments. So I'll call on a method called increment. So let's get a method here called increment.
So all of this, what is it called? Method.
Yes.
Are they custom methods? Are they key? Should I call it JavaScript?
I don't get it, sir. Hello, sir. I don't get your question, sir.
Oh no.
Okay, let me try to answer the question. I don't really get the question, but
Yeah, I'm back, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that handle name and the increment,
Yeah.
are they like our normal function?
Yes.
Or they are key?
They can be anything. You can name them anything of your choice, any name of your choice.
Okay. Okay.
So these dot increments, we want to use it to increase this num. We can now say this dot set states. Then we now say num is this dot states dot num plus 1. Shall I understand?
Yes.
So this dot state dot num plus 1. That's simple. So go to the browser now. We can now increase num. So for your parameterized function, you can also just the parameterized function part is simple, just like you have in what's it called? Functional based components. So I can now pass a value here. Let's say if I wanted to increase it by 3, I can pass 3 here like this. So this can now receive its var. Then you now say var plus, sorry, this plus var. Shall I understand? Yeah.
Yes.
So if you still want this one to still work, you can give this a default value and say this equals to 1. Like default parameter. So in case the user does not supply anything, that's line 17. You know, this is not sending any parameter, you know.
Yes.
So this is the default parameter. Var will start as 1. But if you should click on the line 18, then var will be 3. It's going to add 3 to it. Question. So I can, oh, what's going on? Hello, shell account. Increment. What is going on? This is working, but the first one is not working. I'm coming, let's see why.
Then, we have a good number, we have already got string.
So I think the problem is coming from that var. Let's check the console and see what's going on. Oh. Okay. What's happening is this. By default, so, you know, we are not passing anything here, Abi.
Yes.
It's passing events as default. What that means is, let's say I want to make use of events inside this place. Maybe the events of this button. We've looked at the event keyword now. Event does target does value tamalo for input. Abi, shall I say?
Yes. Yes.
So if you are passing events as a parameter to a function, you don't need to actually pass it here like this. If you pass it, it will still work anyway. Events like this. You can pass event like this. If you pass this event will be sent as value of var. Abi now.
Yes.
Now, the same way also, even if you don't pass anything and you are receiving parameter, this will still be the value of var. I don't know if you get it. How about here, send anything? Parameter and you are not sending anything, then it will assume that you are passing the event as the value of this var. Do you get what's going on? I come again. Let's say, let me comment out this one and say console log event var dot targets. So now when you click on this now, this one will automatically send event as value of var since you are not sending anything. And it realizes that the function you are calling is receiving an argument. You are not sending a parameter. But it realizes that the function you are calling, the method, is receiving an argument. So it assumes that, oh, I think you are trying to receive event. And it sends it as value of this var. Sure, I get that.
Yes.
So when you now say var dot, that is not like saying event dot targets. So let's console it on the browser now and click on this. Share pony. Let me refresh and do it again. Can you see it? So
Yes.
it's automatically sending events since it realized that you are getting an argument here, but you are not sending any parameter to that argument. So it's going to automatically send events. It's only assuming for us. Try to understand me.
Yes.
Okay. So we can since you understand the problem now, I think we may have to just pass the one like that. We won't be able to make use of our default parameter. Okay. Well. Question. So this can now. Shani Bere. Well, I like it. Yes, I say functional based. I like Java class based.
I'm more like any background.
Okay. Let's now see.
Abi,
Yes, it's nice too. It's nice.
it is straightforward.
It's nice.
Spread and
Okay. Let's look at what if we change this function to ES5 function. Let's see what happens.
but why are they not using this one again? Kilo Shivon.
Can you share a bit React to a bit JavaScript? And the problem we have is because of this word THIS. This is going to for our problem. In fact, if you do every other thing, it will work. But since we are making use of this word, this inside that method, when you run it, let's go to the var is not defined. Okay, I'm coming. Okay. Let me get var here. Okay. Let's go to the browser and see. Now, killer shell. What's going on? That's because the value of this is undefined. Maybe console log this. Console log this. So when we click on the first one, effectively got this. So let's go to the console and see what's going on. What you're saying to error. Okay, click on this now. Oh, console. Charlie undefined,
Yes.
If you click on these ones too, undefined. Okay. Oh, unsigned the. I'm coming. What's going on? Oh, van. Well, why is this one giving us this? This is expected to be undefined. This is working, but this is giving us undefined. Oh, okay. I think it's more about this arrow function. But understand that the problem we have with using ES5 function here is because of this word this in JavaScript. When we did JavaScript, I explained to us that whenever you call on this, you can also check it out inside that textbook. That's my JavaScript textbook. Whenever you call on this inside ES5 function, this will always refer to the global objects, to the window object. In ES5 function, this it will be referring, it's going to refer to the window objects. Shall I understand?
Objects, well.
This in BB is not referring to this class. Like I said, this is very inconsistent in JavaScript. This is not consistent. But you man, show man funny. So the way it works is that when you call on this inside the S5 function like this, it's not going to refer to this app. You can check out that textbook or the classes we had on this when we did JavaScript. Then you can check it out to get how this works more. But in the S5 function, this will now refer to the parent. Normally, you expect that this should refer to the parent of that class, of that method. Or your kid is code refer to this app, but it's not going to. So that's why when you are using class-based components, you make use of functional, ES6 or arrow function like this, instead of just writing it this way. Change your going.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Based on what you did in that ES5, can't we use the super keyword or something? I think we make use of one keyword then.
Yes.
Just to pay homage, like you explained them.
Yes. We said when a class is extending another class, and the child class wants to have its own constructor, then we need to add that. But because we are not using constructor, this class we are not using any constructor.
Yeah.
So because we are not using constructor, then we don't need to write super. In fact, normally this state should be inside the constructor, something like this. Then we now take this one out of this place and say this does state. So I get it. but it's still the same as you writing it out here like this. But since you now have constructor, you need the word super. You need to write the word.
So it's either way.
Yes, you can put the state outside or you place inside the constructor. Now, if you are making use of the constructor, remember the constructor will be the first thing to be triggered whenever you call on that class. Have you now?
Yes.
So you can still use your ES5 function and it will still work fine, provided you do something inside this place. Again, check that textbook and see how I explained how bind, call, and apply. I explained it inside that textbook. You can read it out. You can check it out. Now, we can now see, what's the name of this one? What's the name of this one?
Which one?
This method.
I don't understand.
So this is handle name now. This dot
Yes.
handle name.
This is handle name.
You now say equals to this dot handle name dot bind. You can now bind. Look at it. In fact, you can even do whatever you bind here. Let's say if I say school equals to Lautech. Inside this handle name now, about the handle name. Oh, sorry. Inside this handle name, anytime about this, whenever you call on this inside handle name, it will always refer to this object. Do we get it? We say
Yes.
this dot handle name bind we bonded this object, Abby. When you say console log this, it will refer to this object inside this. Let's go to the browser and see how that works. Oh, why is this still undefined? What's going on? Sorry, I'm coming. I want to put out the gen. Give me a minute.
Ah, 3-0.
Ọ̀dọ́lá. Ṣé ọmọ máa dúró dì mí?
No, inú mi kàn ń dùn ni.
Kí ló ti ní ń dùn? Ẹ̀rẹ́ kí máa sí ìlú ìlú.
Bákà lèmi o.
Ẹ̀yin pọ̀ wò ó. Àbí Messi ni? Torí most of yín Messi ni.
Ronaldinho wọ
Bákà
wá
ní
ní
àbí ló.
Ronaldinho wọ wá. Wọ́n ti bọ́ tu gbogbo àwọn boys.
Ronaldinho ni.
So you get. Kò sẹ́mi ní Benzema Vinicius kò sí. Wow.
Báwo ni school activity náà? Ṣé ẹ ṣáà ń kó?
We dey cope well. Some just plenty anyhow. Some just plenty
Bọ́ọ̀
anyhow.
ní kò ṣe wọn, sọ máa kan effort wọn.
Amen o, amen by God's grace. By God's grace.
Okay. So let's move on. Oh, so what are we doing on here? We have this. The state is this. Okay. Oh, should be like this. This dot handle name equals to this. So when you bind this, whenever you call on this inside this handle name now, it will refer to whatever object you put here. Shall I understand?
Yes.
So let's save it and go to the browser and check it out. Shall we play in any by? Is this object? So we can now take advantage of this method, of this approach. We will now put this here. Where I get it. So we are saying that whenever we get to inside this handle name and we call on this, it should refer to whatever this is. You see, inside the constructor, this is still what it should be. This still refers to this class. Shall I get it? Hello?
Yes.
Inside the constructor, this refers to this app, what it should be. So what you are now saying, we are passing it down so that when we now get to this place, we can now call on this. You know, whatever you pass here becomes the value of this inside that method. Shall I get it?
How?
Oye?
Ó ti dojúrú ẹ̀jẹ̀ dá padà.
Okay, sorry.
Come again, please.
Okay. I'm coming.
This tea.
Nah, nǹkan tó
Who's
ṣẹlẹ̀.
that ni?
Nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ní ṣe normally this a ti sọ pé this nínú ES5 function ó refer sí global object àbí òun sọ bọ̀ níbi bí wọ́n sọ fún wa pé undefined àbí náà kò fún wa kọ́ tá a fẹ́. Now we now want to look at something. You now say if you do something like this dot handle name equals to this dot handle name dot bind. Tẹ́ bá ti bind ẹ̀ nǹkan tẹ́ bá ti pass inú bí báyìí. Let's say tí n bá pass Táyé sí bíbí. Tí n bá dé nínú handle name whatever I pass it becomes the value of this nínú method ṣé yẹn yé? Anything tẹ́ bá bí bind ṣe ń ṣiṣẹ́ nìyẹn. Try and get there.
Okay, whatever you put inside that bind, ó máa di state yẹn.
Ó máa di value this. Ó máa di value of this inside that method. It becomes the. Sure you get it. Ó máa di value of this.
Okay.
Whatever you put here automatically becomes the value of this.
Function that way.
Function, yeah, you get it. So now I put Taye here. Let's refresh and check it out. You see, this is Taye because console log this /mb. And then the Taye ni bibi by Abi. Look at it, line 11, app.js line 11. Check where we are.
Yes.
Line 11. So, and the VCB, note that it becomes the value of this.
Yes.
So, if you can also pass an object here. And the other time we did something like this, school. And we said the value of school is, let's use SQI. So, this object now becomes the value of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we can now say this dot school abi now. Console log this dot school.
Yes.
So you will see SQI. Let's move on. But inside this constructor, the value of this is still working fine. This still refers to what it should be or what we're expecting it to be, which is the class. You know, inside this constructor now, this here refers to this app. Try and get it. If you're inside the constructor and you say console log this.
Yes.
Console log is within the constructor. So, you know, share the I think what it is Java have. I think app in yellow, it is that app. I've been now. Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
This refers to that app.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we cannot take advantage of this feature.
And so how much is the 40?
Okay. We cannot take advantage of this feature and pass this here like this. Try and get it. Show it down.
Yes.
Show you what.
I think I'm getting it.
Okay.
Yes. So this here to what the state here go by.
This will now refer to what we expect. It will now refer to this class app. Online passes in BB by because
class state.
Yes. Do you get it? So we can now see console log this dot state.
I think I do.
Okay, let me go over it one more time. First thing first. Note that whenever you call on this.
Okay. This is the app itself.
That is what it should be. But Ninu handle name will be. This is expected to be the app itself.
Yes.
Remember, whenever you call on this inside a method, we expect it to be the parent of that method. Abi. Okay.
Yes.
I just can't sorry para ES6 maybe not confused. Let's go back to ES6. When you say console log this, Kí lẹ rò pé value this jẹ́ nu bí báyìí? Kí lẹ rò pé value this jẹ́? When I click on this button to call on this handle name, kí lẹ rò pé value this jẹ́?
Nǹkan tó bá wà ní app ni.
It's that app itself. Kì í ṣe kò tó bá wà ní app yẹn gangan. It is the app.
App itself, app itself.
Ni this jẹ́, and that's why it's working fine.
The app itself.
Òun la ṣe lè sọ pé the states, because inú ẹ̀ ní state wà, àbí now. Ṣáà follow.
Yes.
Inú ẹ̀ ní state wà, òun la ṣe lè sọ pé this dot
Yes.
state dot something or this dot set state àwọn nǹkan bẹ́yẹn. But unfortunately, when we change this now to ES5 method, this now refers to undefined, which is giving us problem. After solve problem. So to solve that problem, we now decide to bring in the constructor. Inside the constructor, this still refers to app. Inside the constructor, whenever you call on this, inside constructor, it refers to app. So we are now saying that help us to bind this. So you know whatever you put here becomes the value of this inside this handle name. Shall understand?
Yes.
I want to go app here CBB by. It's like saying can we let
Go up like based on this handle name.
It's like saying let that equals to this. It's like we're saying, thank you. It's like we're saying let that equals to this. Like we are just creating a variable. Shall I understand? We are creating a variable. We are calling it that. So anything about with that, we are referring to this. So you can now pass that down.
That is equal to this.
Try and get it here. So anytime that it passes, we know it becomes the value of this inside this handle name. So when we now say console log this, handle name by, it will now be that. Are you following? Sean, this claim me. Hello?
Yes.
So when we say console log this, inside this handle name, it now becomes that. And what is that? That is actually this. Does it make sense? Damilongo, she react to confused one.
Yes, sir. Network cannot break.
Okay. So so when you want to also call on these increments, you can do the same thing for these increments. You can say this dot increment equals to this dot increment dot bind. Shall you understand then? But there's no point first creating that. You can pass down your this directly. There's no point first smoke of that in your shalayin. You can pass down your this directly. So, but she mentioned it before. Key to pop key arrow function. Koto popular. She man last machine you. But thank God for arrow functions. You don't need all of this work around again. You can just change this to ES6 function and it will work fine. Shani bere lórí ibi. Shani bere. Okay. Let's move on. Let's see how to pass props. I think that should be the last thing we're going to look at tonight. Let's see how to pass down props in class-based components. Remember, the only reason why we are doing all of this is in case you want to work on a legacy project. Maybe they've already built the project with class-based components. For instance, if you are working with modularity on our main app, it's built with class-based components. Then it will join Wakala changes to functional-based components. So you may have some UUs working around this. Maybe you want to work with a team and you realize that team they are working on a legacy project, and most likely, if the legacy project is built with that, it's most likely built with class-based components. So for you to be able to understand how it works and all of that, that's why we are teaching this. I'm not advising that if you want to start a project now, you build it with class-based components. No, don't. Even the React team themselves, they don't encourage you to continue using class-based components. They've moved mainly to functional components. Sure, you get. Shower
Yes.
column. So please, that's just the only reason why we are doing
Yes.
all of this. Okay. So I will change this back to arrow function, and this also back to arrow function. Okay. So we want to see how to handle props. I want to pass down this num down as props. So let's create a new component. Inside this SRC, you can create a component folder if you want to, but I don't just want to disturb us doing that. So I'm going to create a component called num.js, and I'll say import React. Okay, from React class num extends component then render return. So export default num. So we want to pass this num down to this place so that we can make use of it inside these components. So first bring in the component just like we used to do. I will remove everything here now so that we just focus on that part alone. Bring in the num component. So I've brought in the num component. Can we see it here at the top?
Yes.
Import num from this. So after bringing it in, you can pass this down as props. You can say my num equals to num. So you pass it down as props. Let's now see how we can receive it here. Inside this place, just call on it directly by saying this dot props dot num. Shall I understand?
Yes.
So if you use it directly, you can say my number is this dot props dot num. And when you get to this place, I'm trying to minimize this. Safari can connect to the server. Is everything alright? Okay. My number is not displaying. Oh, what are we doing wrong? Let's take our kids together. This is num. Yes. Oh, my num. My num like me. You shan't get it.
Yes.
So this does plus dot my num. So this should give us the results now. My number is 3. So let's add an event to change that num. So if we want to add a button here, and when we click on this button, we want to change the value of this my num to something else. Remember, the owner of a state must be the one to alter that state, have you now?
Yes.
So Mini is going to make a request back to app.js so that app.js can change it. So you still have, let's call on this increment. We still have this increment here. This increment will still be the one to change it. So you can now pass it down. You can say my increment equals to this dot increment. So you are saying that this dot, you are saying my increment becomes the value of this function. So when you now get to this component now, you can receive it by saying on click of this button, this colon this dot props dot my increment. But it's expecting, look at it, It's a parameterized function now, Abi. It's expecting a
Yes.
parameter, so you can send it down. So let me send 5 down. So when you click on this button, if you call on this.props.myIncrement, my increment. So this .props.myIncrement will now be the one to trigger this, because the value is this increment. So it will now be the one to trigger it and do whatever you do, whenever you want to get done. So click on this button if you add 5 to it. Shall we go easy?
Yes.
So that is how to make use of props here in this place. Then I just want to round off or to quickly explain how this works, how class-based component works. I'm going to use effect in in functional components, but you can't make use of React hooks in class-based components. You can't. So sort of your use effect, we have different names for it here. Let's look at the first one, component did mount. I missed all of these things. Component did mount is an inbuilt method. This method will be triggered immediately you load this component. This is the same as in your ES5, in your functional based component. This is the same thing as you doing something like this. Okay, use effects takes 2 things. The first one is a callback, Abi.
Yes.
The second one is what? What's the second one?
Dependency.
Good. When it's empty, what does that mean?
It does it for only once the page load.
That is what this component did mount works for. Immediately the page loads, it will run the code inside this component did mount.
Yes.
Just barely empty. Empty. Run the codes here. That's the same thing this component did mount does for class-based components. Let's look at other things. Component did updates. This works with these dependencies, Tabafi dependencies and Rebeaver. Shall get there.
Okay. Yes.
Component. Whenever the state or the props changes, it will run the codes inside this component did updates. To change the props back to shaking it.
Go on.
So let's look at another.
Why do you like this class base?
You like your mom.
So we also have the component wheel on mount. Component wheel on mount in a way, whenever it's about to remove a component from the screen, it's possible. But yeah, imagine you have this something like this. Maybe you can say if the value of name is Taye, if this dot, we already have name here. If name is equal to Taye, then do this. Display this. Else, I'm coming. If is equal to this, else display not. I don't do anything. Shall understand? If name is Taye, but you can Taye Komashi. So it means if name is Taye, Oma display component of this num, Abi. See, about change the name to Taye is going to unmount it. Oma remove a code to screen. This num component will be removed from our screen, Abi now.
Yes.
So tabawa wa ninu num, tabawa ni component will unmount ninu e. Tabawa ni component will unmount ninu bebe yin. Tó bá ti fẹ́ yọ yẹn, ó máa sáré run code tó wà nínú component will unmount. Do we get it? Tó bá ti fẹ́ yọ before kó tó yọ ni o, just before removing it from our screen, ó máa sáré wá run code yẹn. Do you get it? Whenever you're about to remove that particular component from the screen, then it's going to call on the component will unmount inside that component. Do you get it?
No.
Okay. Now, imagine you have a button here. This button is to change the value of name from Taye to Kenny. Initially, name is Taye, so this num will be displayed on the screen. Abi now.
Yes.
When we click on this button, the value of name we change, or we are using it to change the value of name from Taye to Kenny. For that reason, it's going to remove this num from our screen. Abina.
Yes.
Oti yoku oti on month any. Month means is displaying it on the screen. On month means it's removing it from the screen. Do you get it?
Yes.
Tó bá ti wá kù díẹ̀ kó yọ, it will now quickly go to that component tó fẹ́ yọ yẹn. Num la fẹ́ yọ kúrò.
Yes.
It will quickly go to that component tá fẹ́ yọ and see if it has a component with a month. Tó bá ti ní àkọ́kọ́ run whatever code tó bá wà níbí iná kó tó di kó yọ kúrò lójú screen. Do you understand?
Yes.
So inú bí you can do some things there. You can check ṣé kó yọ ṣé kó má yọ and all of those things. A lè check ẹ̀ inú bí. But yeah, you can put some conditionals in it there. You can read more on this. So this component with a month can check. You can proceed with it. You can choose to what's it called? To reverse the action. Kukuma your component in your month. You can do whatever you want to do inside this place. Maybe there are some things you want to check. You can do that. The most time we use it for cleaning up. After clean up some things before removing it from the screen. After just some little cleaning up. You don't be not losing my wash.
So do we do something like this on functional word components?
Yes, we need it. Conventionally, we need it. A máa ń lò if use effects la máa ń fi ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀. In functional based components, this use effect can also return a function. So if your use effect is returning a function like this, whatever your use effect returns like this will be the one to work as your components will amount. Shall I understand? Tabatify your component here, if for any reason we need to remove that component. Akoko wa run code to one function, Do you get it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if for any reason, if your use effect is returning a function, you might need some other code, you might need other things. But any laughing cleaning up. When your use effect is returning something like this, it's returning a function. If it's about to unmount it, if it's about to remove that component, it will first run the code here. I'm going cleaning up. For instance, if you are making use of something like set timeout. Set timeout, problem with set timeout is that create timeout by. If you don't clear it, when you set timeout, you need to clear it a bit.
Yes.
Taba create another set timeout. It's telling you it's still in your memory. It's still in the memory of your application. All you want to remember the app well. I don't know if you get it. If you have a set timeout, until you clear it, that's what I want you to note. Until you clear it, it's telling you one bit. So
if return like man clear.
In yellow share components will amount. Sure you get it now. I think clear. Okay, to go to the water components before you remove it. Quickly help us to run the codes. Yeah. I'm cleaning up. Component will amount is mainly meant for cleaning ups. Of my clean up mess, okay, you clean up some things before removing it from the screen. So set timer, I'm going to that for set timer to clean up so that it's not going to remain in memory. So because about my memory to be consuming spaces, so my load device resources. Okay. So you don't want that. Well, if you man loop then, sure you get it. So I'm components will name functional based components. So components will months, but instead of rewriting it in functional-based component, just make sure that your use effects return a function. So whatever is inside this function will be the one to work as a component with a month. Any question?
Can they remove this class-based component forever?
The way I like it. Because
this yellow jago that go easy. Would that be reducer?
Even the this is somewhat complex. Okay, I think we did this well in JS. Oh, go Dubai,
Really?
So they block pata. Come on, good
really, got to change it. It was not easy for me changing to switch. I think that's my condition now for me to be using functional-based components. Like if you start with class-based components, like if that's what you're already doing, the reason you're talking this way is because you started with functional-based components. ká ní class based component á kọ́ fi bẹ̀rẹ̀ ni tá a ti ṣe tá a wá fẹ́ introduce functional based component ó máa dàbí pé ẹ fẹ́ ṣiṣẹ́ ni ìyẹn lẹ máa sọ pé ó le irú that experience náà gba tí mo mọ̀ pé kíní ẹ̀ ṣe mí náà ni when I wanted to learn PHP OOP PHP ni mo fi kọ́ PHP mi ò lo procedural rárá so procedural is actually simpler than OOP but to me when I started learning PHP because I learned it with OOP right from start that procedural now looked hard nígbà tí n wò ó kàn máa sún mi like it looked hard in fact kíní is simple yes I used to understand the code but somehow I ní kí n kọ́ fúlà mi màá ti switch padà sí OOP I had to now start conditioning myself táìwò ó máa ṣe kíní sẹ́ ó máa ṣe kíní sẹ́ so ìgbà tí mo wá compose dáadáa mo ṣe kíní is simple gidi lóòótọ́ now why was I stressing myself writing OOP every time but because I started with OOP ṣé you get ìgbà tí ìbá kọ́kọ́ ó máa affect bí wọ́n ṣe ń ṣiṣẹ́ now tẹ bá kọ́ React tán bá tẹ bá fẹ́ kọ́ lọ in fact tẹ bá fẹ́ kọ́ another framework ẹ lè má kọ́kọ́ like ìyẹn gan pé React ti mọ́ mi lára and all of that ó máa ń ṣẹlẹ̀ dáadáa ó máa ń ṣẹlẹ̀ so the reason you are saying is because you started with functional based component but let's assume you started with this you will like it and you will stick to it I remember Mr. Beyond even saying káfí less class based component I mean our medullary app káfí less class based component so that àwọn lè manipulate the push one and all of that so really the one you start with will not affect ilé tẹ̀ máa rí pò làbí ilé tẹ̀ máa rí pò simple. So any question? This is just a summary of
for now
class-based component. It's just for you to know that it exists. Because not that for you to use it or anything.
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Tomorrow we are going to look at making requests, adding authentication to token, your auth token to your request, and all of those things. That's what we're going to look at. Connecting to backend. Token. Next class.
All right, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Yes.